Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we re-diving into a very important discussion about the ongoing war in Ukraine and the popular video titled, "Still Think Russia is Winning." Watch this before you speak again. This video has been making waves because it directly challenges the widespread narrative that Russia is steadily gaining the upper hand in this war. If you've heard people claiming Russia is winning, this breakdown will help you understand why that picture is far more complicated than it might appear at first glance. The video begins by confronting a common misconception. Many observers, especially those following headlines without digging deeper, think that Russia's size, military capacity, and aggressive tactics automatically mean victory is inevitable. But the creator reminds us that wars are not won on size alone. What matters is strategy, morale, alliances, and the capacity to sustain the fight long term. And when we look at those elements, Russia's supposed dominance begins to look shaky. One of the first points emphasized is the staggering cost Russia has paid since February 2022. The video highlights how the Russian military has lost tens of thousands of troops, thousands of armored vehicles, tanks, and aircraft. These are losses that cannot be easily replaced, no matter how large the country is. The Russian army has been grinding itself down in a war that it thought would end quickly. This reality challenges the narrative that Russia has been advancing without consequence. Another crucial argument is about morale. The Ukrainian forces are fighting for survival, for their homes, and for their independence. This kind of motivation creates a fierce determination that is hard to match. Russian soldiers, on the other hand, are often conscripts, mobilized men, or mercenaries with far less motivation. The video points out that reports from the front lines repeatedly describe low morale and desertions in Russian ranks. This morale gap has been one of Ukraine's key strengths. The discussion also moves into the economic aspect of the war. Russia is under heavy sanctions from Western nations. Its economy has taken significant blows, especially in terms of technology imports and access to financial systems. While Russia has managed to keep its economy afloat by selling oil and gas to countries like China and India, the sanctions have created long-term structural weaknesses. The video stresses that no matter how much Moscow claims otherwise, sanctions have squeezed Russia's ability to sustain a modern military campaign. Ukraine, on the other hand, has received massive military and financial support from the West. Billions of dollars worth of advanced weapons, training programs, and intelligence sharing have flowed into Ukraine. These partnerships have allowed Ukraine to adapt quickly and fight on a level far beyond what most analysts expected. The video underlines that without Western support, Ukraine would be in dire straits. But with it, they have transformed into one of the most resilient fighting forces in the world right now. The creator also emphasizes that the Russian goal of taking Kyiv and toppling the Ukrainian government has completely failed. In the early days of the war, Russia launched a massive assault on the capital, expecting a quick collapse. Instead, they were repelled and forced into retreat. This was a strategic disaster for Moscow, and it demonstrated that Ukraine would not simply roll over. The failed attack on Kyiv remains one of the clearest indicators that Russia has not been winning in the way some believe. Another part of the analysis focuses on territory. Yes, Russia currently occupies parts of eastern and southern Ukraine, but the video asks viewers to look closer. Much of this territory is under constant attack. Ukraine has launched counteroffensives that recaptured key areas like Kharkiv and Kherson. Holding territory is one thing, but keeping it secure is another. Russia has had to stretch its forces thin, and its grip on many areas is far less stable than it pretends. The video also challenges the perception that Russia can simply outlast Ukraine in a war of attrition. This assumption ignores the international dynamics. Ukraine has strong backing from NATO members and the European Union. Russia, by contrast, is isolated, with only a few allies like Belarus and Iran providing limited support. Over time, this imbalance in international support could become decisive. Wars of attrition depend not only on manpower, but also on external resources, and Ukraine has access to far greater supplies than Russia can reliably count on. Another point that is made powerfully is about global reputation. Russia's invasion has destroyed its international image, turning it into a pariah state. The video notes that even countries not directly involved in the conflict are wary of Moscow now. Meanwhile, Ukraine's reputation has skyrocketed. President Zelensky has become a symbol of resistance, speaking to parliaments worldwide and rallying support. This reputational battle matters because it shapes long-term alliances and global positioning. The video also dismantles the claim that Russia's nuclear arsenal guarantees victory. Yes, Russia has nuclear weapons, but using them would bring catastrophic consequences. The international community has made it clear that nuclear use would cross a line that Moscow cannot afford to cross. The video explains that nuclear weapons are a deterrent, not a tool for battlefield success. So while Russia can rattle its nuclear saber, this does not mean it has a free hand to win the war by escalation. Another section dives into logistics. Modern war is not only about soldiers and tanks. It's about supply chains, communication systems, and coordination. Russia has repeatedly demonstrated poor logistics, leading to stalled offensives and chaotic retreats. Ukraine, on the other hand, has become increasingly adept at using intelligence, drones, and Western equipment to disrupt Russian supply lines. Every time Russia struggles with logistics, its ability to project power weakens. The creator also makes an important point about time. The longer this war drags on, the more it strains Russia politically and economically. For Ukraine, the fight is existential, and their resolve seems unshakable. For Russia, however, public support may not remain strong forever. Already, we've seen protests, draft resistance, and dissatisfaction bubbling under the surface. Time is not necessarily on Moscow's side, even if some people assume it is. By the end of the video, the overall message is clear. If you think Russia is winning simply because it is large, aggressive, or currently holds some territory, you are missing the bigger picture. Wars are not measured solely by land captured, but by long-term sustainability, global positioning, and the ability to achieve objectives. Russia has failed to achieve its main goals, has suffered enormous losses, and faces deep international isolation. Ukraine, despite being smaller, continues to resist, adapt, and even strike back with surprising effectiveness. The video concludes by urging viewers to look beyond the simple headlines. It is easy to assume the bigger army is winning, but reality is more nuanced. Russia is bleeding resources and legitimacy, while Ukraine has galvanized unprecedented international support. The message is that victory is not about who shouts louder or who advances faster in the short term, but who can endure, adapt, and secure their future. So when you hear someone say Russia is winning, remember what this video demonstrates. The situation is far more complex, and the evidence suggests that Moscow's path to victory is anything but assured. Instead, Ukraine's resilience, combined with international support, shows that the war remains deeply contested. The battle is not over, and Russia's apparent strength hides enormous weaknesses that cannot be ignored. Thank you for watching and for joining me in breaking this down. If you found this explanation helpful, make sure to share your thoughts in the comments. And as always, stay informed, stay critical, and don't settle for the easy narrative.